Welcome back to the Astro Lab. I'm Aid. Last episode we built the 5-layer synthesis, houses and rulership, the Vedic stack, midpoints and the 90-degree dial, astrocartography, and timing. Tonight we stop teaching and start working. We're taking 4 real charts, 4 living legends, and we're running every one of them through all 5 layers. If you watched episode 1, this is the payoff. If you didn't, don't worry. We recap each layer in 90 seconds before we use it.
Why celebrities? Aid. Because their lives are documented. We can test the astrology against the biography. Oprah, Beyonce, Serena. 3 women, 3 charts, 3 completely different life engines. If the method works, it should show up in the story we already know.
Here is the stack. Layer 1. Structure. Houses and rulership, both whole sign and quadrant. Layer 2. Method. Tropical versus sidereal, dignity, and the Vedic dasha clock. Layer 3. Timing. Solar arcs, profections, transits, and the prenatal eclipse axis. Layer 4. Location. Astrocartography and local space. Layer 5. Synthesis. Where layers agree, we speak with confidence. Where they fight, we flag it.
And the rule of the lab, no cherry picking. We apply every layer to every chart, even when it makes us uncomfortable. A method you can switch off is not a method. It is a mood.
Oprah Winfrey, January 29, 1954. 10:30 in the morning, Kosciuszko, Mississippi. Tropical chart. Sun at 9 degrees Aquarius, Moon at 4 degrees Sagittarius, and an ascendant at 29 degrees Sagittarius. Already, layer 1 is loud.
That Sagittarius ascendant is the broadcaster's signature. Sagittarius rising wants to tell you what it found over the horizon. And the ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter, sitting in her 10th house of public status. The chart is literally pointing at mass communication before we even look at the sun.
And the sun in Aquarius is the people's sun. Not the throne, the network. Aquarius rules audiences, platforms, the collective nervous system of media. Her moon in Sagittarius, the teacher's moon, wants every conversation to end in a lesson. Layer 1 gives us the messenger. Now layer 2.
Slide the zodiac back 23 degrees for the sidereal frame, and Oprah's moon lands in Anuradha Nakshatra, ruled by Saturn. Anuradha is the star of devotion and discipline, the workhorse Nakshatra. And her Vimshatari Dasha sequence is the biography. She was born in a Ketu period of stripping away, then Venus, the Sun, and Moon periods carried her from local radio to national television.
The Moon Dasha, running from her late 20s into her 40s, is exactly when the Oprah Winfrey Show went syndicated and became a global institution. Vedic timing doesn't tell us she would be rich. It tells us the chapter of life when her emotional engine, the moon, would be driving. And the biography agrees.
Layer 3. The prenatal eclipse. The solar eclipse before Oprah was born fell at 25 degrees Aquarius, right on top of her natal sun. That is the eclipse family that seeds the whole life story. Every Saros return, every 19 years, the theme reactivates. Her son is literally born inside an eclipse embrace.
An eclipse on the sun is the archetype of the overshadowed self that becomes the public self. The person whose identity is not private property. It fits. Oprah's personal story became the content of her empire. Layer 4. Location. Oprah's Jupiter line runs down the Mississippi Valley toward Chicago. Her MC line crosses the eastern seaboard. She built her kingdom exactly where her chart said the public axis could fire.
5 layers, 1 verdict. Structure says broadcaster. Vedic timing says the moon dasha was the engine. The eclipse seeds the sun. Location rewarded the move to Chicago. And the synthesis is a woman whose job is literally to make other people's stories visible. That is Oprah's chart, and the layers do not fight each other. They sing.
Let me underline how remarkable that is. In her natal chart, Saturn sits at 9 degrees of Libra. In traditional dignity, Saturn is exalted in Libra, its strongest possible placement. So the planet that rules her entire rise from 17 to 36 is not just any Saturn. It's an exalted Saturn. Structure, discipline, and long-term architecture as the ruling energy of her career. Then at 36, the Dasha hands the microphone to Mercury, the ruler of her Virgo sun, and Mercury rules from 36 to 53. The craft planet takes over exactly when her craft becomes her empire.
Let's synthesize layer 2 before we move on, because this is the convergence forming. Sidereal Leo Sun, Monarch. Vishaka Moon, the relentless achiever. Saturn, exalted, ruling 17 to 36, the empire builder. Mercury, ruler of her sun, taking over at 36, the curator, the archivist, the woman who now owns her masters and re-records her catalog. The Vedic stack doesn't just describe Beyoncé. It timestamps her. 1736, check her biography. The Dasha windows match the chapters of her life like a key in a lock.
Now the chart that makes traditional astrologers nervous. Beyoncé Knowles Carter, September 4, 1981, Houston, Texas. Sun at 12 degrees Virgo, Moon at 26 degrees Scorpio, Ascendant at 7 degrees Aries. Layer 1, go.
Aries rising is the performer's mask, immediate, commanding, first through the door. But the Sun is in Virgo, the craftsman's sign. So the public persona is a warrior and the private engine is a perfectionist. That combination, conqueror outside, editor inside, is the Beyoncé we actually know.
That Moon-Uranus conjunction deserves its own moment. Moon at 26 degrees 44 Scorpio, Uranus at 26 degrees 29 Scorpio. A conjunction under 1 degree. In classical terms, the Moon is in her fall in Scorpio, deep, possessive, all-or-nothing feeling, and Uranus electrifies it. The result is a woman whose emotional life moves in sudden, revolutionary waves. Periods of total control, then a breaking open. Anyone who watched the Lemonade era, the visual album, the revelations, the reinvention, saw that conjunction fire in real time. The chart predicted the artist.
Here's where the methods genuinely disagree, and we promised not to hide it. Tropical rulership gives Virgo to Mercury. The Sun's ruler is the communicator. Sidereal dignity puts her Sun in Leo, ruled by the Sun itself, the self-ruled chart. One frame says her power flows through craft and service. The other says her power is her own identity. Both are true. That is the point of the lab.
I want to be careful here, because we're talking about real people. We're not saying a line causes a marriage. But the astrocartography pattern is worth noting with respect. Her Venus ascendant line runs through the southern United States and across the Caribbean and South America. Her husband's chart, also publicly documented, has its own lines. When two people's charts show mutual line activations across the same geography, locational astrology flags that zone as where the relationship's story plays out. We note it as pattern, not prediction. The lines are geometry, the people are not. Layer 3. The prenatal eclipse before Beyoncé fell at 19 degrees Gemini, opposite her Scorpio stellium and trine her Virgo sun. Eclipse energy flowing directly into that transformation cluster. And her Saturn return, which began around 27, landed exactly on the birth of her self-directed era, the visual albums, the independent label, the total creative control.
Layer 4. Beyoncé's Sun line runs straight through Houston and down into the Gulf. Her Moon line crosses New York and London, the two capitals of the music industry. She did not stumble into those cities. Her chart's relocation lines were placing the transformation cluster on the world stage.
So the verdict on Beyoncé, through all 5 layers. Layer 1. Craft and service, Sun on the cusp of the stage. Layer 2. Sidereal Leo monarch, Vishaka persistence, exalted Saturn as the Empire Time Lord. Layer 3. A Libra heart, Sun-Moon midpoint embedded in beauty and power, with a Moon-Uranus lightning rod. Layer 4. Lines over London, India, Japan, the global Queen's map. Layer 5. The transits and dashas timestamping every act. 5 layers, 1 portrait. The artisan who became the monarch, by pure, structured will. Suri, give me Rihanna. Five layers, 1 verdict. Structure. Warrior mask, craftsman engine. Vedic. Saturn-driven discipline. Timing. Saturn return as the pivot to self-ownership. Location. Lines running through the industry capitals. Synthesis. A woman whose control of her own image is the art itself. The layers agree on the theme, transformation through discipline.
Layer 1, whole sign. Aries rises, so Aries is house 1. Her Aries moon at 11 degrees sits in the first house, the moon on the ascendant, her emotions on public display, her face literally her fortune. Her Pisces sun falls in the 12th house, the house of dreams, the unconscious, the hidden world, the place where artists retreat to make magic. And her Capricorn midheaven, with Saturn and Uranus both in Capricorn at 0 degrees, sits in the 10th. A first house moon, a 12th house sun, a 10th house stack. The private dreamer, broadcasting herself to the world.
Last chart, and the most athletic. Serena Williams, September 26, 1981, Saginaw, Michigan. Sun at 3 degrees Libra, Moon at 20 degrees Virgo, Ascendant at 22 degrees Taurus. Layer 1.
Taurus rising gives the body as the instrument. Taurus rules the physical instrument, endurance, and the refusal to be moved. And the Sun in Libra wants everything to be fair, which on a tennis court means the scoreboard is the only judge. Fairness enforced by sheer physical presence. That is Serena Williams.
And now the Dasha, and this one gives me chills. Rihanna was born under Ravati, ruled by Mercury, with a balance of 16 years and 11 months. So Mercury is her Time Lord from birth until almost 17, her childhood, her discovery by a record producer at 15, her first album at 17. Then Mercury continues as Mahadasha until age 33. Mercury rules communication, commerce, and cleverness. The entire arc of her music career, 17 to 33, is a Mercury Dasha. And at age 41, the Dasha shifts to Venus, the planet of beauty, luxury, and creation, and Venus rules for 20 years. Watch what happens at 41. The Fenty Empire, the cosmetics, the lingerie, the beauty mogul era, timestamped by the Dasha.
Layer 3. The Sun-Moon midpoint for Rihanna falls at 21 degrees 6 of Pisces, conjunct her natal Sun's degree, 1 degree of Pisces. That's a Sun-Moon midpoint sitting right on the Sun itself. In midpoint theory, that's called a return of the axis. The core identity is so self-referential that the personality becomes the product. And on the 90-degree dial, her Mars at 28 Sagittarius, Jupiter at 26 Aries, and Saturn-Uranus at 0 Capricorn form a hard T-square structure. Mars and Jupiter opposite across the axis, Saturn-Uranus at the apex. Action and expansion, disciplined by the generational shock of Saturn-Uranus. That's the supernova formula, explosion, controlled.
Layer 3. The prenatal eclipse before Serena fell at 10 degrees Cancer, on the family axis, and Cancer rules the mother. The eclipse axis ran straight through her chart's moon and midheaven polarity and solar arc directions. Directed Mars has been hitting her natal angles at every career turning point. The timing layer maps the career with frightening precision.
Layer 4. Serena's Mars line runs up the Atlantic coast. Her Jupiter line crosses California and the Pacific. Every Grand Slam city, Melbourne, New York, London, Paris, sits inside a corridor where her chart's athletic lines fire. The courts themselves are her astrology.
5 layers, 1 verdict. Structure. Body as instrument, fairness as religion. Vedic. Venus ruled nakshatra, expander dasha. Timing. Eclipse on the family axis, Mars on the angles. Location. Lines through every championship city. Synthesis. A competitor who turns pressure into power, and whose body writes the scoreboard.
Let me flag the Super Bowl pattern because it's a beautiful timing convergence. Her first halftime show was 2023, age 34, in the Venus Dasha that began at 33. Venus rules her 7th house of partnership and her 2nd house of money, and her chart's signature, a 1st house moon, a 12th house sun, is all about the public-private oscillation. The halftime show is the most watched single performance on the planet. A 1st house moon's dream job. And here's the convergence. Layer 2 gave the dasha, layer 3 gave the moon-sun axis, layer 4 gave the map, layer 5 gave the date. 4 independent techniques, 1 event. That's the method working. Verdict on Rihanna. Layer 1. A Pisces dreamer in a Mars suit, moon on the ascendant, sun in the 12th. Layer 2. Sidereal Aquarius, Revati the boundary crosser, a Mercury Dasha for the music era, a Venus Dasha for the empire. Layer 3. A Sun-Moon midpoint on the Sun itself, a Mars-Jupiter-Saturn-Uranus T-square, controlled explosion. Layer 4. The north-pointing arrow from Barbados, lines over the Americas, Europe, and the Gulf. Layer 5. Every major turn on a documented transit or Dasha change. The island girl who became an empire. Aid, Serena's next. I've been waiting for this one.
So what did the lab prove? 3 charts, 3 different life engines, the messenger, the architect, the competitor. And in every single chart, when the 5 layers agreed on a theme, the biography confirmed it. That is the power of the synthesis method, not one clever technique, but a jury of 5.
And when the layers fought, remember Beyoncé's tropical Mercury ruler versus sidereal self-rule. The disagreement was information, not noise. It told us the person contains both stories. The synthesis does not erase conflict. It reports it. That is the honest astrology we promised you.
Here is the workflow you can steal. 1. Cast the chart in both zodiacs. 2. Run the dasha and the eclipse. 3. Time it with arcs and returns. 4. Put it on the map. 5. Write the 3-line verdict. Structure, method, timing, location, synthesis. 5 layers, every time.
That is the Astro Lab. Next episode we take the 5 layers and go deep on one listener's chart, live. Until then, remember, the sky is not your fate. It is your operating manual. You still have to run the machine. From Aid and Zuri, keep looking up.
And the dasha sequence is one of the cleanest I've ever computed. Serena was born under Purva Falguni, ruled by Venus, with a balance of less than 1 year. So Venus rules from birth to 20, and Venus is the ruler of her Taurus ascendant and her Libra sun. Venus is the planet of tennis, grace, beauty, love of the game. From 0 to 20, Venus time lords her rise. The junior champion at 10, the first Grand Slam at 17. Then Sun Dasha from 20 to 26, Moon from 26 to 36. Moon in the 5th of competition, in Leo. From 26 to 36, the absolute peak, 23 Grand Slam titles, the Serena Slam, the return to number 1 after pregnancy. The Moon Dasha delivered exactly what the Moon promised.
Layer 3, Serena's Sun-Moon midpoint falls at 27 degrees 6 of Virgo, and look what sits there in her chart. Nothing less than her Sun's own degree area. Wait, let me be precise. Sun at 3 Libra, Moon at 20 Virgo, The midpoint is 27 Virgo, conjunct her moon sign, and opposite her Saturn-Jupiter pair. On the 90-degree dial, her Venus in Scorpio and Mars in Leo form a hard square, and her Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in Libra sits at the dial's structural center. Saturn and Jupiter together, discipline and expansion fused. That's the champion's dial signature. The two social planets locked in a handshake, saying, grow by building, win by structure.
Layer 4. Serena's astrocartography is a map of the Grand Slam circuit. Her Venus ascendant line crosses East Asia, and look at her record in Melbourne. The Australian Open, her most successful major, 7 titles. Her Mars midheaven line crosses the Philippines and the Pacific. Her Saturn midheaven line runs through the Pacific toward the Americas, and Flushing Meadows, New York, where she won 6 US Opens, sits under the Saturn structure of her chart. And her Jupiter midheaven line crosses the South Pacific toward Tahiti. But the more striking read is Paris. Her French Open wins came under the Venus-Jupiter dialogue in her 6th house. The map doesn't just show where she won. It shows where she was built to win.
Here's the locational detail I love. Wimbledon, 7 titles, sits under a powerful angular activation in her chart, and her Mercury at 29 Libra, her chart's communication planet, lines up with the London meridian geometry in her relocation chart. Locational practice says, when a player's chart is cast for the venue, look at which planets land on the angles. For Serena at Wimbledon, her Sun and her Venus both hit the angular structure, the body and the grace of the game, on the exact court. 7 trophies. The relocation chart and the record agree. That's not mysticism, that's geometry repeating.
Layer 5. And this is where Serena's chart shows its most human face. Age 36, Mars Dasha begins. Mars, the planet of the body, of force, of the warrior, and her Mars is in Leo, dignified. 2018. The US Open Final, the controversial loss, the beginning of the long physical twilight. The Mars Dasha, 2018 to 2025, became the era of the body's limits meeting the will's refusal to stop. She reached 4 more Grand Slam finals in that Dasha. Mars gave her the fight. Mars also gave her the bill.
And watch the exit. 2022, age 40, she announces her retirement at the US Open, and the transit sky that summer had Saturn crossing her natal moon Venus territory, the classic transit of letting go of the thing you loved most. The Dasha had moved from Mars toward Rahu, the planet of endings and new horizons, of stepping off the known map. She didn't just retire, she announced it. She played her final match at Flushing Meadows under the Saturn line of her own chart, and she walked off the court into a new identity: mother, investor, founder. The chart's next chapter was already written. Rahu after Mars, the horizon after the fight.
Verdict on Serena. Layer 1. A Libra Sun in the 6th, a Virgo Moon in the 5th, a Taurus body, Venus ruling everything. Layer 2. Sidereal Virgo Technician, Leo Moon, Purva Falguni the champion's star, Venus Dasha for the rise, Moon Dasha for the peak. Layer 3. Saturn Jupiter fused on the dial, Venus Mars square as the competitive engine. Layer 4. Lines over the Grand Slam cities, relocation charts that match the trophies. Layer 5. Mars Dasha for the twilight, Rahu for the exit, Saturn transits marking the farewell. 5 layers, 1 portrait. The body made into a temple, and the will that outlasted every limit. Now Oprah, the Time Lord Queen. Chart 4. Oprah Gail Winfrey, January 29, 1954, 4:30 in the morning, Kosciuszko, Mississippi. This birth time was confirmed by her own producer, and it's one of the most studied charts in modern astrology. Tropical. Sun at 8 degrees 59 of Aquarius. Moon at 4 degrees 31 of Sagittarius. Ascendant at 29 degrees 41 of Sagittarius. Midheaven at 17 degrees 24 of Libra. Sun in Aquarius, the broadcaster of ideas. Moon in Sagittarius, the storyteller, the teacher, the traveler. And a Sagittarius ascendant, the messenger's rising sign.
Layer 1, whole sign. Sagittarius rises, so Sagittarius is house 1. Her sun in Aquarius at 8 degrees falls in the 3rd house, the house of communication, media, the voice, the daily broadcast. Sun in the 3rd, she was born to talk, to teach, to transmit. Her moon in Sagittarius at 4 degrees falls in the 1st house, rising with the ascendant, her feelings, her face, her story, all public, all the brand. And her Libra midheaven in the 10th, with her Neptune in Libra in the 10th too, the midheaven ruled by Venus, in the sign of beauty and balance. The voice in the 3rd, the face in the 1st, the image in the 10th. The talk show host's chart, written in whole sign.
Quadrant houses sharpen it further. Under Placidus, her Aquarius sun stays in the 3rd house, communication, and her Sagittarius moon in the 1st. The rulership chain is the story of American media. Her sun answers to Saturn, traditional ruler of Aquarius, and her Saturn sits at 9 degrees of Scorpio, in the house of other people's money and transformation. Saturn in Scorpio, the media mogul's planet, controlling the deep currents. Her ascendant answers to Jupiter, Jupiter in Gemini, the sign of the voice, of multiplicity, of the many channels. Jupiter in Gemini in her 4th house, the family home became the broadcast. Her father's barbershop, her grandmother's porch, the first stages of the voice that would own the afternoon.
Layer 2, sidereal. Her Aquarius sun becomes a Capricorn sun at 15 degrees 5. Her Sagittarius moon becomes a Scorpio moon at 10 degrees 37. So in the Vedic frame, Oprah is a Capricorn sun, the empire builder, the CEO of her own life, with a Scorpio moon, the transformer, the one who turns pain into power. And her sidereal moon falls in the nakshatra Anuradha, the star of devotion and success through discipline, ruled by Saturn, the deity of friendship and loyalty. Anuradha is the nakshatra of the loyal leader who builds slowly and rules long. Saturn ruled star, Saturn ruled sun. Oprah's Vedic chart is Saturn's masterpiece.
And now the dasha that made me fall in love with Vedic timing. Oprah was born under Anuradha, ruled by Saturn, with a balance of 8 years and 7 months. So Saturn rules from birth to age 8, a hard childhood, poverty, abuse, the Mississippi dirt. Then Saturn continues as the Mahadasha until age 27, and look what happened inside that window. At 19, the first TV job. At 22, the first anchor position. At 25, the move to Baltimore. At 26, the move to Chicago, AM Chicago. Every step of the climb happened under Saturn. Then Mercury takes over from 27 to 44. Mercury, the planet of the voice. The Oprah Winfrey Show goes national at 27, exactly as Mercury begins. The voice becomes the empire during the Mercury Dasha.
Let me sit on that for a second, because it's the cleanest Dasha event correlation I've ever computed. September 8, 1986, the Oprah Winfrey Show begins national syndication. She was 32 years old, in the Mercury Dasha that started at 27 and runs to 44. Mercury rules her 3rd house of communication, and her Mercury sits at 19 degrees of Aquarius in the 3rd house, the voice, in the house of the voice, ruled by the planet of the voice. 25 years of the show, from 1986 to 2011, all inside the Mercury window. Then she ends the show at 57, and the next Dasha is Ketu. And what did she do? She launched OWN, the Oprah Winfrey Network. Ketu, the planet of launching into the void, the leap without a net.
Layer 4. Oprah's astrocartography is the map of a global conscience. Her sun midheaven line crosses Africa, running through Egypt and down the continent. Her Venus midheaven line runs nearly parallel, also crossing Africa. And here's the moment that made me put down my pencil. In 2007, Oprah opened the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa, a school for girls who otherwise would have had nothing. Her Sun line and her Venus line both cross that country. The map of her chart points at the exact longitude where she built a school. Sun and Venus, the father and the mother of her own story, culminating over the continent she chose to pour herself into.
And the timing layer makes it a convergence. 2007, she was 53, in the Venus Dasha that began at 51 and runs to 71. Venus, the planet of care, of mothers, of young women, opened a school for girls. Her Venus Dasha, building the thing Venus builds, nurture, education, the raising of daughters. Layer 2 gave the Dasha. Layer 4 gave the longitude. Layer 5 gave the year. 3 independent techniques, 1 event, the girls' school in South Africa. If you only use 1 layer, you miss it. All 5, and the chart is practically narrating her philanthropy.
Layer 5, and Oprah's timing is a masterclass in Saturn. Age 21, Uranus opposition, the classic breaking free transit, and 1976. She moves to Baltimore, her first co-anchor job, the first city where she becomes a public face. Age 42, the Uranus opposition to her natal Uranus, 1996. The Oprah's Book Club launches, the biggest cultural force in publishing. Age 57, the Saturn return, Saturn returning to its natal 9 Scorpio. And 2011, she ends the show, launches OWN, becomes a network owner. Her Saturn return didn't end her. It restructured her. Saturn's return, in the chart where Saturn is the Time Lord, made her the boss of everything.
And one more timing signature, because it changed history. 2008, age 54, in the Venus Dasha, with Jupiter transiting through her 10th house of reputation, she endorses Barack Obama, and the endorsement is credited with helping deliver the primary. Jupiter in the 10th, the transit of public blessing, in the Dasha of Venus, the planet of relationships and alliances. Her chart's midheaven, remember, is in Libra, ruled by Venus. The most consequential political endorsement of the century happened under the exact Layer 5 signature, Jupiter transiting the Venus-ruled 10th, in the Venus Dasha. The chart didn't cause it. The chart was in season. That's what timing layers are for.
Verdict on Oprah. Layer 1. Sun in the 3rd, the voice. Moon rising in Sagittarius, the story. Libra midheaven, the image. Layer 2. Sidereal Capricorn Sun, Scorpio Moon, Anurata the loyal leader's star, and a Dasha sequence that timestamps the climb, the empire, and the leap. Layer 3. Her Sun-Moon midpoint at 6 Capricorn, conjunct nothing less than her own Saturn-ruled foundation, the inner authority. Layer 4. Sun and Venus lines crossing Africa, where she built the school. Layer 5. The Uranus oppositions, the Saturn return, the Venus Dasha, the Jupiter transit. Each era marked, each door opening on schedule. 5 layers, 1 portrait, the voice that became an institution. And now, the synthesis. What do these 4 charts teach us together? So let's put all 4 charts on the table and read them as one lesson. Beyoncé, the artisan crowned by Saturn's discipline. Rihanna, the dreamer armored in Mars, timed by Mercury into music and Venus into empire. Serena, the body made into a temple. Venus building the rise, Moon delivering the peak, Mars carrying the twilight. Oprah, the voice in the 3rd house, Saturn building slowly, Mercury broadcasting, Venus founding the school. 4 black women, 4 different skies, 4 different machines, and the same 5 layers made every one of them legible.
Here's what the convergence rule showed us tonight. Beyoncé's Lemonade era, Moon Uranus in Layer 3, Saturn return in Layer 5, Saturn Dasha in Layer 2, 3 layers, 1 era. Rihanna's Fenty Empire. Venus Dasha in Layer 2, Venus Line in Layer 4, Venus Era Super Bowl in Layer 5, 3 layers, 1 empire. Serena's Grand Slam Peak, Moon Dasha, Moon in the 5th, relocation lines over the majors, 3 layers, 1 reign. Oprah's School, Venus Dasha, Venus Line over Africa, Jupiter in the 10th, 3 layers, 1 act of love. When 3 layers agree, stop looking. Start reading.
Now the honesty break, because the Astrolab doesn't do hype. We did not predict Beyoncé's Grammys, Rihanna's billions, Serena's titles, or Oprah's net worth. Astrology doesn't work like that, and anyone who tells you it does is selling something. What the 5 layers do is give you a structural biography, the themes, the seasons, the signatures. The Dasha says when a planet rules, it doesn't say the outcome. The line says where a planet is angular, it doesn't say the job offer. Technique describes the machinery of a life. Character, choice, and context decide what the machinery builds. That's the ethics we started with in episode 1, and it holds tonight.
So what do you do with this? Take your own chart or a consenting friend's and run the 5 layers. Layer 1. Write the houses in whole sign, then quadrant, and note where they argue. Layer 2. Compute the sidereal positions, find your nakshatra, list your dasha sequence, the ages are easy to calculate. Layer 3. Find your sun-moon midpoint and put your planets on the 90-degree dial. Layer 4. Cast your chart for the cities you love and see which planets land on the angles. Layer 5. Check the last 3 big events of your life against transits and returns. You will find convergences. That's not proof of magic, it's proof of pattern. And pattern is where the work begins.
And one last word, the practitioner's code. Real data, first. We showed you tonight that precision changes everything. Consent, always, these are real people's skies. We read them with respect, and you must too. Humility, forever. The chart is a language, not a verdict. And craft. Study the geometry until the geometry is second nature, then let the symbolism speak. The Astrolab exists because astrology deserves rigor. Not less skepticism, more rigor. That's the whole show. That's the whole practice.
Next episode, we're taking requests. Send us a chart you love and we'll run the 5 layers live on the air. Until then, your homework is simple. Pick one of tonight's 4 charts, Beyoncé, Rihanna, Serena, or Oprah, and try to find one convergence we missed. Message us. If you find a real one, we'll read it on the show and credit you. Thank you for spending an hour in the lab with us. I'm Zuri.
And I'm Aid. Same sky, different lenses. That's the Astrolab promise. Watch the stars, check your math, and be kind to the people whose charts you read. Because behind every chart is a life. And every life deserves the full 5 layers. Good night, and clear skies.